Welcome to MoCo Pride. I'm your host, Phillip Alexander Downie, and today we are taking a behind-the-scenes look at Cory Van Horn, Marketing Director for Visit Montgomery, and how he brings his brand of vibrance to MoCo. Thank you so much for having us, Cory.
Thank you. I'm really excited, and thank you for having me because this is my happy place. This is where, when somebody says, hey, let's have a conversation, the first thing I think of is being at a counter, making a beverage, just having a dialogue together. So what I wanted to make for you is a Manhattan. So are you a fan of Manhattan?
I am indeed a fan of Manhattans.
Okay, cool. So I'm not sure when I became a fan of Manhattans. It just kind of magically happened, and then over time it just became my thing. So, so what we're going to do is, while I'm making this, I want you to ask me any questions you want.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, my first question is because I am not completely sure what's in the delicious Manhattans people make for me. So tell me how you were going to make this Manhattan.
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing is really good whiskey, right? Mm-hmm. So it can be a rye whiskey, and keep in mind that this is my version of a Manhattan. So there's going to be people that are like, that's not a classic Manhattan, where I'm like, no, this is my version. So it could be a rye whiskey, it can be a blend.
Awesome.
What I tend to do, because I travel so much, is I use that as my souvenir, like where I buy a whiskey of some sort of that local area. This one in particular actually happens to be from Pittsburgh. And so it's called Wiggle Whiskey. And so that's where I got it when I was traveling there.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. So traveling, tell us a little bit about why you travel so often.
Well, I mean, inherently travel is, I grew up around travel. I mean, it was instilled in me at a young age. It was just that sense of adventure. What I like to say is that I'm a food guy who likes to look up from the plate. And so everything's through a lens of food or drink, but yet at the same time it's through exploration as well. So that's where that all comes from.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And I just happen to be able to now get paid for it. So.
And tell us about your travel while you're getting paid for it. So you recently came back from a trip.
Yeah. So I mean, to kind of start from the beginning, so to speak. I mean, my first job out of high school was at a golf course, and I am one of 6 children. And my mother is one of 14 children.
Wow.
And there are 62 grandchildren across my family.
Oh my gosh.
That's not counting like second cousins and all that other stuff. And I am in the top 5 of graduating from college.
Wow.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Thankfully, more and more people in my family have graduated, but part of that was I had no idea what I was going to do in college. And I had this guidance counselor who randomly told me, hey, you seem really good at working at a golf course. Why don't you look at hospitality? And I was like, I have no idea what that is, but I'll just look into it. And that's how I ended up in hospitality. So I got my bachelor's degree in hospitality and tourism in Michigan at Grand Valley State University, and spent some time in Chicago. And then I spent about 10 years in Pittsburgh.
Awesome,
yeah.
Awesome.
So we're gonna look at some bitters here, right? Because what I just did was, because I'm making 2 portions, mm-hmm. So I just did some whiskey, some sweet vermouth, mm-hmm. right? And then these actually are in DC, so another trip of mine where I happened to take a day trip into DC. That's what I love about Montgomery County, to be honest with you. You can hop on the red line and go right into DC, buy a bunch of stuff, look at some monuments, go to some museums, and come right back, right? So we're just gonna do some regular bitters here.
Wonderful. So the hospitality industry, so tell us exactly what you do now as the marketing director for Visit Montgomery.
So Visit Montgomery is, in the industry is known as a destination marketing organization. Mm-hmm. It's often known as a convention and visitors bureau. Sometimes it's known as a tourism office, things like that. And so our entire job, our entire mission is to promote the county as a destination for visitors. And that's to get people from outside the county to come visit. So my role as the director of marketing is to oversee all of the marketing efforts in promoting the destination. So the way that I look at it is that I market fun all day. right? My parents think all I do is eat and drink all the time, but it is actually quite a bit of work. Yeah,
I can tell this.
yeah, I know. This isn't really helping the cause, is it? Yeah. So the trick to a Manhattan is you have to let it bloom, right? So you have to stir it quite a bit. People think that you're watering it down, but in reality you're not. You're actually allowing the flavors to mellow. And so I just added just a little splash of the cherry juice just to get a little bit of sweetness. And we're gonna do this up, okay? So no rocks. And also, mainly because I think these are really cute glasses, so yeah.
I love those glasses.
Yeah. So when I lived in Pittsburgh for 10 years, what I ended up doing is I worked in several different industries, stayed in tourism as much as I possibly could, but worked in other industries. And then I, at one point, decided to go back to school. So believe it or not, I have a master's degree in food studies. So I actually literally got a degree in eating. And the core focus of that was around culinary tourism. That was my research emphasis. And so I was able to take my marketing experience, pairing it with tourism, pairing it with culinary, and that's how I ended up where I am today. So cheers.
Well, cheers. This looks amazing.
This looks so good.
That is absolutely delicious.
Isn't it great?
No, I'm loving it.
I know. I mean, pretty soon you'll be able to ask me anything. No.
Exactly. So you said that you market fun. Tell us about a few of your favorite places in Montgomery County.
What I love about Montgomery County to start with is its location. The fact that it's next door to Washington, D.C., the red line goes straight through into D.C., that lends itself to a great opportunity for day trips. But then what was interesting is I moved here 2 years ago. And after moving here, I thought DC was the destination. When in reality, there are so many things to do in Montgomery County, and there's so many things within a 2-hour drive that, I mean, there's limitless possibilities. The first that is a great destination is actually where we're located right now, which is Pike and Rose. A new development, a new neighborhood, just chock full of great restaurants, great entertainment, that sort of stuff. I love going out to the agricultural reserve. Do you know about this?
I'm not familiar.
So 1/3 of Montgomery County is reserved for agricultural use. It's 93,000 acres. Wow. It's amazing how many people don't know about it. And part of my job has been to really shed some light and shine a shining star on it, put a spotlight on it. And it's been great. It's truly become a destination in its own right. There's breweries popping up, Brookville Beer Farm, Werdaka Brewing Company, things like that. Another thing that's great, wineries, hiking, Sugarloaf Mountain, that sort of stuff. The C&O Canal is a national park that runs along the Potomac River. It's a phenomenal place. I mean, you can hike, you can bike, you can do all sorts of that stuff. I mean, you can break a sweat anyway.
That sounds really awesome. And we're going to be walking around a little bit of Pike and Rose later, so that's going to be really fantastic.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So you got into this, you're a foodie, you got into the hospitality industry, so clearly you love it. I guess outside of the food and beverage aspects of your job, which do you like the best?
I love it all. I mean, you really truly have to be passionate about the travel industry, and it's not just about getting a paycheck. It's about all the perks around it as well. I've been to grand openings of hotels and being able to work with some amazing people like you, right? Working with the Sandy Spring Museum that has a phenomenal story behind it. And a lot of what I do is really thinking about it from, I have a backstage pass to a community, right? So I have a backstage pass to Montgomery County. I have the opportunity to celebrate its successes and all of its charm and all of what it has to offer. But at the same time, I have an opportunity to work with the community to be able to take things that are of interest to visitors and residents alike and help to foster and grow them into true successes for the future as well.
Fantastic. That is really good to hear. On that note, we are going to be right back, and when we come back, we're going to be taking a look around Pike and Rose. See you soon. Welcome back to MoCo Pride. We are here at the Canopy by Hilton. Thank you so much again for having us, Cory.
Well, thank you for having me at Canopy Central. It's one of my favorite happy hour spots, and we are having a General Montgomery.
Oh, fantastic.
Cheers.
Well, cheers to that.
Yeah. So the Canopy by Hilton is a very close partner with Visit Montgomery. And the way that works is we have a partnership organization where through that partnership, we as Visit Montgomery are able to provide promotional support and things like that for properties like the Canopy by Hilton. What makes the Canopy by Hilton so special is that it's in the heart of Pike and Rose, and it is actually the third of the brand to be built in the world and the second in the United States.
Wow. So this is the third of these properties, and there's only three in the United States. In the entire world, there's only three of these.
Correct. It was the third to be built. There's many more that have come online since, but that's its claim to fame. Is the first was actually the first was in Iceland, the second was in the Wharf in Washington D.C., and then this was the third. So it's a beautiful property. They're a fantastic partner of ours, and we work really closely together to bring visitors here and to make sure that they have an equally exceptional experience across the board in Montgomery County.
That's awesome. I mean, this is such a cool space. It's so modern, and it looks like there are some workspaces here. So how was this building formed, and who is it meant for?
So the beauty of spaces like this throughout the county is that they're little hidden treasures, right? And throughout Montgomery County, you can see these pockets of hidden treasures throughout. Things like the National Capitol Trolley Museum. Again, a beautiful building that has beautiful spaces, things like that. You have Rockville Town Square, which has a different, unique perspective for it. You have downtown Silver Spring that also has its own mood and style as well. So,
Fantastic, fantastic. So I wanted to dive in a little bit about you, Cory, behind the Visit Montgomery job. So tell me, I know that you work all the time, but tell me a little bit about your interest and also your family life.
Yeah. So the beauty about my work is that it doesn't feel like work. And as I've said before, many, many times, is that I market fun for a living. And in order for me to market fun, I need to have fun. So the core of that is I need to know the product. And so I moved to Montgomery County about 2 years ago, and I was living in Pittsburgh for about 10 years and wanted a different scenery, and I was drawn to the DC area. And when the opportunity to work for Visit Montgomery came along, I jumped at that chance. And so my partner and I moved here. We originally started living in Rockville, and then eventually bought a house in Montgomery Village near Gaithersburg. And throughout this past 2 years, I call it my Montgomery County boot camp. All I've been doing is going to attraction after attraction after attraction, having as much fun as I possibly can.
That's fantastic. I mean, you've told us a little bit about your fun, but can you give us a few more examples about the fun places that you've been able to explore throughout the county?
Well, I'm a fan of happy hour, so there's plenty of happy hours here in Montgomery County. A huge fan of going to Clyde's at Tower Oaks Lodge, which is a wonderful rustic experience. And then having a fantastic glass of wine at Cooper's Hawk Winery, which is a new addition to Rockville. And there's a tremendous amount of history. I mean, being able to walk along the historic C&O Canal National Park, which rivals the Grand Canyon in visitation, which many people don't know about in terms of how much visitation actually occurs there. And it's right here in Montgomery County. And from time to time, I love the outdoors and hiking, so I go up Sugarloaf Mountain. Wonderful. And hike along the Billy Goat Trail and things like that. And I'm a huge fan of biking as well. And so there's plenty of trails to cycle here.
So what does your partner do?
So my partner, Jason, we've been together for almost 6 years now, and he works in the public health field. So he's actually an executive director for Equipment Connections for Children, and their entire mission is to connect children with disabilities with the equipment that they need to succeed and thrive. It's a fantastic balance, right? Because it keeps me in check. We have a joke that we call how our jobs differ. I'm off having fun, and he's off saving the world. So either way, we're both having fun along the way.
Absolutely. Me and my husband kind of have the exact similar dynamic, where he works in the health field nonprofit and I work in the fun hospitality nonprofit sector. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a way to be able to have a dialogue about things, different perspectives along the way.
Fantastic. So are there any other places at Pike and Rose that we absolutely have to visit?
So places at Pike and Rose what's really fantastic about Pike and Rose is A, its location, and B, what's here in particular. So first, its location. You're just steps from the White Flint Metro stop, and one stop down is Strathmore. So a lot of times what happens is people book a performance, or they attend a performance at Strathmore, and then they either stay here at the Canopy, and then they make a weekend out of it where they enjoy a meal at City Perch or Summer House, Santa Monica. And then they go bowling at Pinstripes, and there's fantastic comedy performances at AMP by Strathmore, which is just above IPIC Theater. So it's an all-in-one staycation experience here.
That's fantastic. That's really, really cool. So you talk about all of the amazing fun that you have at your job, but a lot of the things you do are bringing vitality to Montgomery County. And you also help save the citizens here in Montgomery County some money. So tell me about that.
So Visit Montgomery is funded through the Occupancy Tax, and a percentage of that tax is then reinvested into the program to continue to fund it. So what that means is that a percentage, if you stay overnight in a hotel here, that occupancy tax that's charged, a percentage of that is then reinvested. The remainder of that then goes towards funding other programs throughout Montgomery County. And what that means is that for that investment, we save residents about $1,000 a year in property taxes.
That's amazing. Yeah. That is really awesome to hear. So thank you so much. That is fantastic. So you're in Montgomery Village now. You live there with your partner, and you all just recently moved there. And that's close to the Rio and Gaithersburg, and you're doing some work with them. Could you tell me about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So Rio is undergoing a rebranding. It's undergoing a $30 million renovation, and so that's all being managed by the property owners and the marketing people that support that. And so the marketing people that support that then partner with us as Visit Montgomery to help promote it. And so our ultimate goal is to shed light on that area to help celebrate all of the newness that is there. One of the key ways that we do that is I work very closely on a public relations side to bring travel writers to that area, host them, tour them around, introduce them to all the people with the hope and goal that they would write stories about all the amazing things that they've done there.
That's fantastic. So this work with travel writers you do, can you tell me about that a little bit? Like, how does that work, and do they come from, or is it like a national blogging perspective, or is it just something that's a little bit more local?
It's across the board. So the core of it is that it's people that fit within the travel and tourism space. So it can be a travel blogger, so to speak, or a food blogger, but also it's regional and national press as well. I primarily target within the Mid-Atlantic region, a 3 to 4 hour driving radius, but also a 2-hour flight radius outside of BWI. So that's typically our market segment anyway. Those are the types of visitors that are coming here. And so it's a lot of relationship building. It's a lot of being their best friends and just introducing them to all the things that I do and all the things I experience. And then I look at it as giving a menu of options or ideas ideas for them. They select the stuff that makes sense for their beats or their the stories that they want to write about, and then give them the tools that they need to succeed.
That's so wonderful. Well, thank you so much for having us, Cory, and we're going to get back. You're going to show me a little bit around the Canopy by Hilton, and we're going to enjoy these drinks. So thank you for joining us on this episode of MoCo Pride, and we can't wait to see you next time.